All right. Hey, guys. Sorry I couldn't be there this first day to help things get started, but wanted to talk through some things pertaining to the class. Make sure that you had a heads up. Make sure that you're ready to go, starting right away. So, a couple of quick things. First of all, I will not be in class for the first 2 Tuesdays. Dr. Reed is going to help cover those two. I'll be on campus the third Tuesday, September 9th, and be glad to meet with you guys. Then we'll set up a schedule from that point on to meet and kind of one-on-one, talk through class, talk through the material, any presentations or book reports that you have questions on, that kind of thing. I will have some virtual office hours on Friday for at least these first 2 weeks, Fridays from 1 to 3. Skype address, phone address, email, Cincinnati email address are all on your course plans. If you need an appointment outside of one of those times, you can contact my assistant. Her email contact is there as well, and she'll help you get set up with a time that works in both of our schedules. Okay, a couple quick things about this class. Overall, again, this is a very practical class, so keep that in mind as you're doing assignments and as you're doing your threads in Moodle, all of that kind of thing. I'm not really looking for a whole lot of fluff. Really just looking for how are you using this currently, or how will you plan to use this as you step into this role. Let me just point out a few quick things here. Article summaries are going to happen periodically. I'll give you an article. I'm really just looking for a half page or so, and really looking for how are you going to use this material. Not just a summary of the article. I've already read the article, so I don't need a summary. I just need how are you applying this? How are you planning to work this out? The discussion posts on Moodle will work this way. Pretty much every Monday, I'll send out a question or a scenario and ask you to respond to that with your own thoughts. And then you'll take some time to do that by Wednesday. And then between Wednesday and Friday, you'll need to comment on at least 2 other classmates' posts, kind of giving them some feedback. And I'd really love for you to be pretty critical or pretty thought-provoking in that process. Really want you to dive in and say and to challenge one another in this. This is one of the great things about peer-to-peer learning, is you'll get a chance to learn from one another. So between Wednesday and Friday, your classmates will comment on your post. And then on Friday, I'd really like for you to then, between Friday and Monday, then I'd really like for you to solidify your thoughts. So let's take an example of our interview process. One of the things we'll do throughout the course of this class is that we'll work on our how do we include new artists into our ministry. And so you'll write out your thoughts on Monday, between Monday and Wednesday. Between Wednesday and Friday, you'll be challenged on some of those thoughts and philosophies from your classmates. But between Friday and Monday, then I'll ask you to solidify your beliefs on how that ought to work. I'm not going to answer those things for you. I'm not going to hand you an answer. I'll hand you some illustrations from other churches and sometimes mention what we've done or what my experience has been. But mostly in this class, I want you to think through what you believe about these things, so that when you're actually sitting across the table from someone or in an interview for your first real ministry, you know what you believe, maybe even have a document about how you would do this to present to that committee or to that person that you're hiring with. So take time to really think through those questions, to respond, and then to really challenge one another on your posts. There'll be a couple of books that I'll have you read through, and again, not looking for a summary of the book. I already know what the book says, so I'd love to spend some time hearing from you on here's how I am applying it if you're already in ministry, or here's how I would envision applying this book in my ideal ministry someday. Same thing's true with projects. Really love for you to kind of attack your projects and then make them so good that you could literally hand them to the church that you're going to interview with, or hand them to your worship team and say, this is what we're doing. This is my ideal setting for how we would do this. All right. Class attendance is all there for you. Dress code is there for you. Please be dressed when you come to class. All right, let's do this for the next few moments here. I'd really love for you to answer this question. Why why worship ministry for you? That's where our discussion is going to center on here in this first week, is why worship ministry. So real life scenario for me is in my first ministry. I don't know, must have done something that this person liked, because after the service they came up to me and said, "Hey, we just really think you're great. When are you going to get your own church?" Was the way they phrased the question. When are you going to get your own church? Aren't you graduating soon? When are you going to get your own church? And definitely throughout the time that I've been in ministry, different times people have encouraged me to be a preaching minister or an associate minister or a campus pastor or whatever, and have chosen to continue to be in worship ministry. I think it's very important for you to answer that question, so you're going to do that this week on Moodle, on the forum there. But to begin to think about, why worship ministry? Why pay all this money? Why work so hard in this craft, in this art? What is it that's so valuable about this? It's kind of the pearl of great price, if you will. Why am I giving up so much to invest in this one thing? Is it a calling? Is it because I just like doing it? You need to start wrestling with that real deep down, I think, because here's what I know statistically. Within 2 to 3 years is the average lifespan of a worship minister or worship pastor. 85% of worship ministers that graduate from a college like Cincinnati will no longer be in ministry after 2 or 3 years. If you're a preaching minister or a lead pastor, you'll typically last 3 to 5 years. A typical lead pastor will last 3 to 5 years and will be involved in 2 to 3 ministries. A typical worship pastor will be longevity is 2 to 3 years and 1 to 2 ministries in that time period. Why is that? Why do so many people start out just like you and want to do worship ministry, but after just a few short years of graduating college, they decide they can't do it anymore and quit? Well, we're gonna get into some of that throughout the course of our time together, but this much you should know about me. I want this to change for us. One of the things that God has just burdened me with is helping students like you not fall into the same pitfalls and holes that I did when I first graduated, and what's taken out so many of my friends and colleagues in this worship ministry thing that we do. It's a great privilege to get to do this wonderful thing, and yet so many of us, 85%, after just 2 to 3 years, will not be in this anymore. My hope is throughout the course of this semester is to really help you develop what I would call a deep well, right? So we're going to fill this well with all kinds. We're going to dig our well really deep and have it full of water, because when you graduate, everyone is going to want and need some water from you. They're going to be thirsty, and you're going to be shelling out. You're going to be helping. You're going to be giving water to everyone in your church, everyone that needs it. And if your well is not very deep, you're going to run dry very quickly. And you're going to try to still produce, but there's not going to really be anything left in that well, not anything left in the tank. And I think that's why so many worship guys get frustrated and quit. And so my hope, my passion really is to help you get a realistic expectation of what's going to happen, some real leadership tools, some time management tools. There's so many artists that are just stinky when it comes to time management, and it kills them, buries them. And so I want to help with some of that to create an emotionally good infrastructure and a real depth of spirituality when it comes to worship leading. This class is designed for very practical skills to help you succeed in that. And so we'll start a little bit in this next session, but my hope is to help you have a greater experience and to be able to last in ministry.